Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into a topic today that, well, it's kind of universal, right? Dreams. Those weird, often super vivid things our brains cook up when we're supposed to be resting.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? I mean, across history, you see cultures captivated by dreams. Are they messages from something bigger? Ancient civilizations certainly thought so. And even now, neuroscientists are using cutting-edge tech to try and decode what's happening in our sleeping brains.
It's true. And the thing is, we all dream. I read somewhere that even fetuses show brainwave patterns linked to dreaming. So, what's the deal with all this nighttime brain activity? What's the point?
That is million-dollar question. And as you might guess, there are a bunch of theories floating around. One that's got some serious attention is the threat simulation theory. Basically, it suggests that even nightmares, as unpleasant as they are, might actually be helpful from an evolutionary standpoint.
Okay, now that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
How could those heart-racing monster under the bed dreams possibly be good for us?
Well, the idea, and there's more and more evidence backing this up, is that those scenarios, even the scary ones, are like our brains running drills. We rehearse for potential threats, but in this safe dream environment. It's like our brain saying, hey, just in case you ever encounter this in real life, here's a practice run so you're a little more prepared.
So that dream I had about running from a bear, maybe that was just my brain prepping me for a wilderness encounter. That's fascinating and a little freaky at the same time.
Right. And it highlights something crucial. Our dreams, even the ones that seem totally random or nonsensical, often have roots in our waking lives. We're connected even when we sleep.
Makes you think about that continuity hypothesis too, huh? The
Yeah.
whole idea that what we dream reflects what we experience, think about, even eat during the day.
Exactly. Our brains are busy processing and integrating everything constantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes that manifests as, well, I once ate a whole bag of gummy bears before bed. Let's just say the dreams were colorful.
I can only imagine. But it's not just those external events either, right? Like what's going on inside our heads, those unresolved things we push down, those pop up too.
Oh, absolutely. It's like our subconscious saying, hey, you might be ignoring me during the day, but I'm still here working through stuff. And sometimes that processing takes the form of bizarre imagery, unexpected scenarios, or those recurring dreams that feel like they're trying to tell us something specific.
Yeah. And speaking of those deeper meanings, we got to talk about the spiritual side of dreams, right? It's like timeless. I mean, ancient cultures were convinced that dreams were the God's way of getting through to us. And even today, there's this idea that dreams can be a channel for, divine messages.
It's definitely a strong theme in a lot of the traditions we've looked at. In the Bible, for example, you've got stories all over the place of God using dreams, Jacob's ladder, Joseph, and those prophetic dreams about famine. The list goes on.
And it wasn't just these huge epic dreams either. It seems like God was totally cool using dreams to connect with everyday people,
Right.
right? Giving guidance, sometimes warnings, sometimes just a glimpse into what he was up to.
Absolutely. Think about Joseph again. Those dreams he had, the ones of the sheaves of wheat, and get this, celestial bodies, they weren't just random symbols. There were details in there that directly impacted what was going on, ended up saving Egypt from starving. It's like proof that dreams can be packed with meaning. Once you crack the code, you get some serious insight.
It's true. Like God was speaking Joseph's language using things he knew, stuff that mattered to his life, to get a super important message across. But that makes you think, right, if God still uses dreams today, how do we tell those apart from, say, a dream about eating too much ice cream?
Ah, that's where discernment comes in. It's something a lot of theologians and spiritual teachers have wrestled with. You've got some folks who say every dream, no matter how weird or ordinary, could have a message from God if we're open to it. Then there are others who are like, hold on, we need to check this stuff against Scripture, pray about it, maybe even get some wise counsel before we go around calling it divine inspiration.
Makes sense. So it's not about blindly following every dream like it's a prophecy, more like coming at them with a good head on our shoulders. Discernment, prayer, trying to understand that's the approach.
You got it. And something else to keep in mind, even back in biblical times, not all dreams were created equal. Some were intense, sometimes kind of scary, but they seemed meant to shake people up a little, get them moving.
Yeah, like a wake-up call, dream stuff. That whole thing with Pharaoh and the 7 fat cows, the 7 skinny cows,
Yeah.
that's got to be up there. I mean, that led him straight to Joseph and a plan to survive.
Exactly. It wasn't just predicting the future. It was like a push to actually de-dose something, a warning sign you couldn't ignore. And sometimes that push, those warnings, they can be unsettling, even a little frightening, honestly.
It's like that threat simulation idea we were talking about earlier. Could it be that some of these dreams, the ones that make you sweat a little, even if they seem negative at first, are another way of like divine guidance, like a nudge to face something in our lives, or maybe make a change we've been putting off?
Now, that is a fascinating question, and I don't think there's a simple answer there. But it does show you how much potential our dreams have, no matter where they come from. They can be tools for looking inward, for growth, shining a light on those hidden anxieties, challenging our comfy assumptions, even sparking positive changes in our working lives.
So whether you approach dreams from a scientific view, a psychological one, or a spiritual one, the common thread seems to be insight, figuring ourselves out a bit more. But the question then becomes, how do we actually unlock that insight? Dreams are famous for being symbolic, even kind of bizarre. How do you make sense of that language?
And that, my friend, is where dream interpretation enters the picture. Now, there are tons of books out there, websites galore, all dedicated to deciphering what dream symbols mean. But honestly, the most powerful approach, it's going to be the one that's personal, the one that comes from knowing yourself.
Okay, so dreams are full of meaning, packed with symbols. But where do you even start trying to understand them? These are all dream dictionaries and like every image having one fixed meaning. Do butterflies always equal transformation? Houses always represent our minds?
Dream dictionaries can be fun, I'll give you that. But don't get too caught up in those. Remember, dream symbols, they're personal. A butterfly might mean something completely different to you than it does to me. Depends on our own lives, right?
It's almost like you're trying to learn a whole new language, isn't it? Just
Mhm.
knowing a bunch of words won't help you actually speak it.
Hmm.
You got to get the grammar, the context, how it all fits together.
Exactly. And with dreams, context is king. So before you even think about cracking open a dream dictionary, start by looking inward. Keep a journal by your bed. The second you wake up, write down every single thing you can remember from that dream. Don't overthink it. Don't censor yourself. Just get it out.
Like catching those images before they disappear, they fade so fast.
Mm.
I've had dreams that felt so real, so vivid, but then, life happens, and by the time I could write it down, it was gone.
It's true. Short-term memory is not our friend when it comes to dreams. Here's a tip, though. When you are jotting those details down, pay attention to how you felt in the dream. Were you anxious, happy, scared? Emotions? They can really unlock what's going on under the surface.
Okay, that's good advice. So you've got your notes, you've got the feelings, now what? How do you go from just remembering a dream to actually understanding it?
Now we're getting to the good stuff. This is where the work pays off. It's all about asking the right questions. What were the big symbols that stood out to you? Anything that reminds you of what's going on in your waking life? Any patterns, anything repeating, themes maybe?
Sounds kind of like detective work, putting together a puzzle. Connecting those dream images to your feelings, to what you're going through in real life.
You got it. And as you do that, don't be surprised if some themes just keep popping up again and again in your dreams, those recurring ones. They're often pointing to something unresolved, some deep desire your subconscious is trying to bring to the surface.
So even though they can be a bit frustrating, a bit creepy sometimes, those recurring dreams are basically our subconscious trying to get our attention.
Exactly. And if we ignore them, well, they tend to, come back even stronger. Remember that chase dream you mentioned earlier? Maybe that feeling of being pursued, it could be your subconscious saying, hey, there's something you're avoiding dealing with.
Okay, now that is a little spooky. But it makes a strange kind of sense, doesn't it? Sometimes the most helpful insights come from facing those things, those truths about ourselves that we'd rather not look at. So you've journaled the dream, you've thought about the symbols, sat with how it made you feel. What's the last piece of this dream interpretation puzzle?
For a lot of folks, that last, most crucial step is inviting in that spiritual side. Pray about those dreams. Ask God, what are you trying to show me? Sometimes the meaning hits you right then, like a lightning bolt. Other times it's more gradual. You start noticing things in your everyday life, little synchronicities.
So it's not always about finding a concrete answer, but being open to how that dream might be trying to guide you, even if it takes a while for things to click.
Exactly. And here's the thing. If you've prayed, you've reflected, and you're still stumped, it's okay to let it go. If it's important, that message will find its way back to you. Trust me.
That's good to hear. Takes the pressure off, right? So I think as we wrap up here, the big takeaway from this whole dream deep dive is that dreams. They're powerful. They help us understand ourselves better. They can even deepen our spirituality. We get a peek behind the curtain of our own minds, maybe even a direct line to something bigger.
I love that. And the best part, we get to decide how we approach it all. Curiosity, a discerning heart, Really listening to what our subconscious, what maybe God himself is trying to tell us, that's when the real magic
That's
happens.
true. And who knows, that journey, that adventure, it might just start tonight as you drift off to sleep. Until next time, everyone, sweet dreams.